Hi everybody, I'm in Rhyl in North Wales, about an hour's drive along the coast from Liverpool. And while I'm here I thought I'd check out where the Beatles played 3 gigs in the early 60s. So they played here in 1962 with Pete Best. I'm going to go and have a look at that venue in a few minutes. And then the year later, in July 1963, they played here twice. Obviously Ringo was well established in the band then, and they were well on the way to becoming a mega band. But we're going to check out those venues and also have a look at across the road from here. You'll see there's the Westminster Hotel there. That's the hotel that when they played the 2 nights in a row in 1963, that's where they stayed in the bridal suite after the first night. After the second night they headed back to Liverpool, but I'm going to go into the Westminster Hotel and see whether there's any memorabilia in there about their stay. So first of all, I'm just going to head a couple of 100 yards that way, down to the high street, past the B&M store, and that's where we'll find the Regent Cinema, which is where they played their first gig in Wales, which was on the 14th of July 1962, just a few weeks before Pete Best left the band. So on the 14th of July 1962, the building behind me there, that was the Regent Cinema, and that's where the Beatles played with Pete Best. He was just in his last few weeks in the band at this point, with it a month later and he'd be gone. But the Beatles played there, and then they would have headed back down the road to Liverpool for the night. So at this point the Beatles with Pete Best had played at Abbey Road Studios and done a recording of Love Me Do about 6 weeks earlier. What else was happening at this time? So Frida Kelly had just joined NEMS Enterprises as an employee. She'd gone to run the fan club for many years, and at this point the Beatles had been playing in suits for a couple of months now. One of the sort of big innovations from Brian Epstein when he took over as manager at sort of just before the beginning of 1962. So a year later, on the 19th and 20th of July 1963, the Beatles were back in Rhyl and they played at the Ritz Ballroom 2 days in a row. And at this point, so Love Me Do had been out as a single here in the UK, Please Please Me had come and gone, From Me to You had come and gone. They'd even recorded She Loves You a few weeks earlier, but it hadn't yet been released. It wasn't going to be released until the August. So that's the period that we find ourselves in right now. It's on the verge of exploding. The Beatles came back to Rhyl and they went to the Ritz Ballroom for 2 nights, staying at that Westminster Hotel just over there after the first night. So I'm going to head over now and find the site of where the Ritz Ballroom was. So this is it. This is the site of what was the Ritz Ballroom until it burnt down in 1968. So what is it now? Well, there's the range over there. There's an oldie behind me. Time's certainly moved on. This place is nothing like what it was, but yeah, the Ritz burnt down all those years ago, and this is where the Beatles would have played, right in that period where it was just absolutely exploding. She Loves You was just a few weeks away from being released. It had already been recorded and they were about to go global, and this is where they played 2 consecutive days in Rhyl in 1963. This is the Ritz as it looked in the 1960s. It was a typical British seaside venue. And here's the Beatles in action at the Ritz in July 1963 with Ringo on drums. And this is the Ocean Beach Funfair in Rhyl. This is as it would have looked to the Beatles when they were there. After they'd played that first evening show on the 19th of July 1963, they would have headed away from the Ritz Ballroom, and this is the road that they would have gone down. It leads straight to the Westminster Hotel. This is a drive along the seafront, heading east through Rhyl. Once I got back to the right side of town, I headed over to the Westminster Hotel to go inside and find out if there was any memorabilia there from when the Beatles stayed there after that Ritz Ballroom show on the 19th of July. No, there's no memorabilia in there. They said it's changed hands several times since. I imagine if I was the owner of this place and I had some photos, I'd have taken them with me as well. So that's a shame, but never mind. The guy behind reception at the Westminster Hotel, what he did say though was, he said, my mum used to live just near George Harrison in Liverpool back then. It would have been well before his time, but there's connections out here, it's not that far away really. If it was a much clearer day, you might be able to see Blackpool behind me over the sea, and then sort of right behind me there, it wouldn't be visible, but Liverpool, about an hour's drive down the coast there. So that's the places featured on the Beatles' trips to Rhyl during 1962 and 63. Hope you've enjoyed that. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done already, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers. Bye bye. Shut up.